Well, good everyone. Really great to be here, finally in person, not virtually anymore. Great to see all these people and have this real context. My name is Dirkjan van Zoelen. I'm from Aspen API. And this is Martijn Bekker, my partner in crime. I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting us and to speak about the topic sustainable APIs from Aspen. And we would like to talk about manufacturing towards the end user. Typically you hear stories about downstream, taking responsibility downstream, but we also have a very important responsibility upstream, because our patients, where we all do it for, our patients secrete a lot of APIs in the environment. Today we have a story about... No problem, no problem. So today we have a story for you about upstream impact. As said, I'm from Aspen API, so first some key facts. We are part of Aspen Pharma. It's a South African-based headquarters in Durban. And here are some key facts about Aspen Pharma. We are present in over 115 countries, and we have 23 manufacturing sites, over 15 sites. Very important for us, since we are a South African company based headquarters in Durban, Mandela Day. We hear a lot of things about the environment. We will also speak about the environment. But sustainability is not only about the environment. Sustainability is also about social impact. So Mandela Day is a very important day for us, where we do a lot of social chores, where we do a lot of work in society, and where we have over 800,000, almost 900,000 beneficiaries over the past 11 years. The company exists of approximately 9,000 people. Reduction waste and recycling waste is very important. We are an API manufacturer, but also a finished dose formulator. And we are producing over 24 billion tablets. Then let's switch gears to Aspen API. Who are we? We are Aspen API, and we are based in the Netherlands, in Os. But also in Cape Town, where we have 2 manufacturing sites. I will come back to that later. And we are a driven partner for solutions. We are a solution provider. We want to be a solution provider. We have complex APIs where we do the registration, where we do manufacturing of highly potent APIs also. And we distinguish ourselves by a very deep-rooted culture of quality, of sustainability, but again also about solutions, giving you a solution for your problem. We are a company which already exists a long time, actually almost a century. If we go back all the way, we were founded in 1923 by Organon. So next year we will have our century anniversary. And in 1965, the Cape Town facilities were founded. FCC, Fine Chemicals Corporation. 1971, you see Diosynth, the API manufacturing part in the Netherlands. And then you see a lot of changes in a decade. We wanted to become separate, so Akzo Nobel brought us to the exchange. We were sold, we were taken over by Schering Plough in 2007. We were acquired by MSD in 2009. And then again in 2013 we became Aspen as we are today. And in the next 3 to 4 years you can see the merger between Aspen API Os and the FCC facilities in South Africa. Until 2021, where we become a full integrated company. And we're really looking forward to next year, 2023, where we will have our century anniversary. Some key facts about Aspen API. Aspen API, so in Os and in Cape Town, together we have approximately 1,000 employees. Over 60 very high-skilled scientists, which have many collaborations. And today we will be speaking about collaboration with Wageningen University. We have 4 facilities worldwide, API facilities. I will show you a picture about our global footprint. And also 4 pilot labs where we can do development and R&D. We have flexible capacity size, so really small scale. If you look at our peptides, the batch size of our peptides can be 200 grams. If you look at another API which we are producing called Sugamadex, CMO activity for MSD, we produce it up to 8 metric tons. So ranging from 200 grams to 8,000 kilograms. It's no problem for us. And again, almost over 100 years of experience. How are we located? We are a biochemical and a chemical company. So we make biochemical APIs, heparin for instance, and we make chemical APIs, a lot of chemical APIs. We have 2 biochemical sites, one located in Sioux City, where we have heparin intermediates, and a site in Os, where we have molenite, and also in Boxtel, where we have the program called Mothers for Mothers, where pregnant women can donate their urine, and we take out a very important hormone in order to help other women to get pregnant. We have 2 chemical sites, again on molenite, De Geer in Os, and as mentioned in Cape Town. And I'm really proud that both sites, as well Os, molenite, De Geer, once again, Os, Cape Town, both are EcoVadis Gold rated. We have a very strong and warm relation with our CMO in India, and we have 2 sales offices, one in Tokyo, Japan, and one in Chicago, USA. So a global footprint. We produce the APIs which go over the world, which has a global. Then sustainability. Sustainability is a very important, and we are really committed to that. And we do not only want to protect our employees, we do not only want to protect the environment, but also our products, of course. We need to protect our products. And this has been a journey for the past 2 to 3 years. And the first step we've taken is choosing the right SDGs. So from the 17 SDGs, we've chosen 4. And one could say, only 4? Yes, 4. We really want to create focus, and we really want to make impact on these 4 SDGs, which are close to our heart. Of course, the other 13 are important, and of course the other 13 we also work on. But on these 4 SDGs, we really want to create focus. So the first SDG, of course, number 3, good health and well-being. As a pharma company, it's the SDG which you should have. Number 5, equal chances for women and for male gender equality. And it's not only about having a quotum on females, it's also about our products. Our products are mainly hormones. And there's a very important factor in birth control. So I really trust our products, preventing young women, 12, 13, 14 years, getting pregnant. We should prevent that, because at that moment when they're pregnant, they will drop out of education. And if education stops, then also the chances in society stop overall, most of the time. So I truly believe that our products help in gender equality. As an API producer, to be honest, we are the most polluting part of the medicine supply chain. Varying from different papers, you can see that one reports 40%, the other reports 80%. There's even a report of AstraZeneca indicating that 69% of their footprint is caused by the API suppliers. So the API supplier is the most polluting part of the complete supply chain. So if you look at the supply chain and if you look at the chemistry we're doing, we need to take responsibility. So number 12, taking responsible care about the products which we use, about the solvents which we use, we should act on that also. So 12 is also a very important one. And then of course, we hear a lot about CO2 footprint, we hear a lot about energy. So also number 13, climate control is very important over there. But choosing the right SDGs is only the start. If you choose the right SDGs and there you stop, well, then don't start on it. You really need to take the next step. And that's what we did. So we defined a roadmap and we defined our initiatives and we defined our approach and our objective for each of these SDGs. Of course you can't read it, that's also not a possibility and that's also not needed. I will give some examples, some brief examples. So if you looked at SDG number 3, our initiative over there is taking responsibility and changing and improving our processes. Again, you can do a lot about solar energy, but the main impact is in our processes. So we really need to think about changing our processes. Some of the processes which we have been running are running for 25, 30 years. There is a lot of new chemistry out there. There's a lot of new technology out there. So why don't we use this new chemistry, this new technology, in order to change the processes and develop second generation processes? We have an API which we used to make in 16 steps, and via new technology we can make it now in 8 steps. 8 steps instead of 16. Development of second generation. In view of time, I will go to number 12. Number 5 again, gender equality. We want to promote an inclusive workforce. And that's something which you can say very easy. And someone can say, yeah, here's the SOP where we defined what you should do when you have a complaint or when you're harassed or whatever. Having systems, having SOPs is not the solution. It should be there, of course, it's the fundament, but a true inclusive workforce where you are allowed and where it's safe to speak up is the thing which we need to work on. So change the culture within the company in order to speak up, in order to be safe, in order to step up when something happens. Only having systems and SOPs is not sufficient. And of course, if you look at the objectives, it's completely aligned with regulation and law of the EU. Zero pollution in 2050 and carbon neutral in 2050. In view of time, unfortunately, I need to skip this. These are our achievements so far. And what I would like to mention is the last one. Because I think it's really important not only to look inside, what can you do as your company, but also look at your impact. What kind of impact do your APIs have? And what collaborations can you find within your company, within the country, collaborations with universities, in order to help to make it a better world. And we have started a collaboration, a consortium with Wageningen University to look at the impact of our APIs in the environment. And we are looking for a new technology in order to reduce our APIs in the environment. And Martijn Bekker from Wageningen University is going to talk about that.
Thank you so much, Dirkjan, for introducing me. So I will discuss the way we will work together with Aspen and actually a few other companies. So what's very important eventually is that we know that there are many types of compounds that end up in the environment. So I've depicted a few examples here for which we work together in a public-private partnership with Aspen and with a few other companies. And so the examples that I will give today is one of an organic solvent used in industrial processes. Usually they are there in low concentrations, hard to get rid of in the end. So how do you approach that easily? By not just burning it and wasting a lot of energy that we've seen today. A lot of heat energy is used. Estradiol that leaks into the environment, that's unpreventable. And that already has known effects on some of the ecology around that. So how can we approach that? Or at least how can we try to study that and try to mitigate the effects of this? And I will not touch upon this because that's the topic of today, but I'll even show an example where you can use microorganisms to degrade PFAS. And why do I give this example? We all know that PFAS is one of the hardest compounds ever to degrade. But even for that, we see that these compounds seem to biodegrade if we test them in specific laboratory conditions. We don't know exactly about the environment, but even those compounds biodegrade. So that, to me at least, indicates, as an expert in this field, that the compounds that you're making are very likely to be able to be biodegradable as long as we study them and ensure that we optimize these type of processes. So, let me see if I can go to the next slide. So, in this public-private partnership, I'm going to make it very simple, and that's still rather complex. So, please bear with me over here. So, what we do is we try to scavenge through all literature for the compound mentioned, but also for other potential compounds, to see if somebody has already done the research. Maybe somebody already found microorganisms that degrade your specific organic solvent, already degrade your specific API. So research is done on this continuously. And people find very interesting biodegrading activities. For example, PET biodegrading activity. Well, we know for sure that did not exist 1,000 years ago because PET was not in the environment. But there's people who go into a plastics recycling facility, they take out the microorganisms there and they find PET degrading bacteria. They're already there, naturally evolved. Once we've identified those microorganisms, we'll contact the people who identify these microorganisms, we'll source them, and we optimize them with a technique we call adaptive laboratory evolution. I'll explain a little bit more on what that means. But in a nutshell, you're basically training your bacteria to eat the compound that you want them to eat. Just like you teach your children to eat their vegetables, we are training these bacteria to eat the compounds that you want them to eat. And in biochemistry, in microbiology, I think most of you will know all reactions have a basis in standard biochemistry. So these are all enzymes that catalyze the reactions, right? What we can do very easily then in our systems is see, well, which enzymes are responsible for this biodegradation. And you could even then think of developing enzymatic processes later on, if you would care. And of course, as we are Wageningen University and research, we very closely collaborate with industry. And so we take the complete process and design a proof of concept for an actual industrial process that can then be transferred to the actual producer or other type of partner. So we are really a research facility that can help you with really actually developing the process. We don't get stuck in academic, at an academic level. And so this is already an example that I wanted to indicate over here. Right? So if you look at the type of compounds that we're looking to degrade, so DMF is one of those, because it's used in these type of processes. We can just go through literature, and I've indicated the references over here. So I'm more than willing to share these type of references. You can look them up yourself. You can already find microorganisms that degrade these type of compounds. And some of them actually have reasonable rates. Some are rather slow still. For DMF, you can get reasonable rates if you would industrialize this. Remember, this is literature. This is all done in academic settings, so relatively low. But if you would industrialize it, it would be rather easy to make this 10 to 100-fold faster, these type of rates. For estradiol degrading strains, you can also find this in literature. And basically, you can just find that people have soil isolates in which you already see this type of biodegradation. So you can already find these bacteria naturally present in nature degrading estradiol, which is very logical, of course, because it's also a natural compound. And even the real high one, PFAS degradation, there's already nowadays quite a lot of literature out there that indicates that PFAS actually is degraded. Although at rather slow rates overall, yet it is definitely degraded in time, which is very good, because we say PFAS is probably the most difficult molecule, and so that there's out there at the moment, human-made at least, and so we think that other type of compounds can also be biodegraded. And so why do we think biodegradation is very important, both to use, to implement, potentially to get rid of your waste streams from an industrial process, but also just to ensure that the APIs that leak into your environment just get degraded. In our view, microbiology is very good at biodegrading very low concentrations of all kinds of contaminants that you may have out there. So it's widespread through nature. They have a very, what we call high affinity in some cases for these type of products. And so you can use it to really degrade it to very low concentrations. It's a low-cost methodology. Right, so these microorganisms grow themselves. You just have to feed them a little bit of sugar, a little bit of nitrogen, and they will grow by themselves. So it's very, very low cost. You can implement it rather easily, and we also see that happening nowadays. So at hospitals, we see biodegradation actually being used to degrade all kinds of compounds from the waste streams, the watery waste streams that we have over there. And there's actually a few companies that purely focus on that, using these type of technologies. And finally, what is very nice about these type of systems, that you expect it to be degraded completely, so to be fully utilized. And I'll just need another 1 or 2 minutes, so you don't get all these half products that you usually get with chemical type of reactions. So why do we use adaptive laboratory evolution? Just to go very quickly to that, how does it work? So you have your microorganisms in a nutrient reservoir. You have a bioreactor to which you add your microorganisms, and then you have a waste streams. And so basically they grow at the maximal rate in this bioreactor. And what you basically do is you only feed them with the compound of interest, so that you want to be biodegraded. And what happens then is that you select for natural mutations in the bacteria to occur that allow the microorganism to consume this type of product faster. And you continuously select for these type of mutations. And what you see then over time is that the biodegradation occurs faster and faster and faster. And so this is a natural process. It's also viewed by EFSA and other parties as natural microorganisms that you create at a certain point that can then faster and faster and better biodegrade your specific compound of interest. And so why do we use this now? And why not already 10, 20 years ago? The systems costs for these type of systems have literally fallen to log orders. So last time, back in 2010, when I was looking for these systems, I had to pay €100,000 for such a single system. Now they're literally €3,000 a piece, and I buy 20 of them and optimize a range of reactions. So that helped me move much, much faster. Secondly, the cost of analyzing all the information that comes out of that, so that's the genetic information, have also even further fallen in the last decade. Again, by 2 log orders. It was already rather cheap, but it has become so cheap now that we can really study very easily the very, very large mix of microorganisms that we have. Just by using these type of novel systems, among which the nanopore minion system. And so that, in view of time, I have to stop here, unfortunately, so I have to keep it short and simple. So what we do in the current public-private partnership, together with Aspen and other partners, we look at the potential of bacteria to degrade a number of compounds, just to show as a few key examples of what we can biodegrade and how powerful the technology is. We determine what's the maximum degradation rate and what's the maximal affinity that we get of the microorganisms for the substrate. So that means what is the lowest concentration we can break this down at. And so there will be a limit, but whether that limit is at the microgram or at the nanogram scale per liter, that is something we'll have to study. It allows us to determine the enzymatic pathways for biodegradation. And we will develop a proof of concept for all types of biodegradation processes in the industry. And that's where I remain for today. I thank you very much for your attention. And if you'll have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them jointly. Thank you. I see a question over there. Yeah.
Yes, good morning, Hans van Ees. Maybe a practical question. If you're talking about pharmaceuticals in the environment, you're talking about pharmaceuticals secreted by the patient, right? So this is not localized on the plant. So
correct.
From a practical perspective, would this mean that you would have to implement your systems to degrade estradiol, for example, in every single community wastewater treatment plant, or how do you see that practical implementation?
Yeah, we have been dreaming about this indeed. If you look, for instance, at estradiol, the secretion is very locally. It's on the toilet. So how cool would it be if we could design a new block which you can hang in your toilet, not only spreading nice vapors about mint or lavender or whatever, but also giving some bacteria in the toilet, already breaking down and biodegrading the compound of interest. So might be very locally, but Wageningen is also part of a consortium where they're looking at hospitals. And perhaps you can say something about that, Martijn?
Yeah, so that's correct. So there's a lot of, that goes a little bit outside the topic of estradiol, but also on other type of medicines, of course, where you really look at hospitals, look at biodegradation there, and see which compounds you can degrade using biodegradation. And I think the interesting discussion that we just started now on estradiol is that, of course, at the toilet you have a slightly higher concentration. And so it's a little bit easier to biodegrade, although it's still low. At the wastewater treatment plant, of course, the concentrations are even lower. And so it becomes even harder to biodegrade. And that is why we are really doing this research. We really want to know where is the limit with respect to the concentrations that we can still biodegrade, and are they at the level of a wastewater treatment, or would we really have to think of solutions that are indeed more local? So it's a great question, and yeah, it will take us a bit of time before I have the answer, to be honest. So.
Any other question? If not, then I would like to thank you for your attention and hope to see you in our booth. It's in hall 12.1, booth 30. Thank you very much.
Thank you.